Alrighty, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to this, the 23rd iteration of the Konoha Companion. This is Joshua. I'm your Konoha Companion, as always. And on this episode, we're going to be covering Season 1, Episode 22 of Naruto, entitled Chunin Challenge, Rock Lee vs. Sasuke. Now, before we dive off into this episode, I'm going to go over what happened on the previous episode per the kind of usual format. Basically, the quarrel between the squadlings of Squad 7, the Konohamaru Ninja Team, and the group of Genin from the Hidden Sand, consisting of Temari, Kankuro, and Gaara, has finally been squashed when Gaara and Sasuke intervene for their respective sides. Temari reveals that they're with permission for the sake of the Chunin exams. At that point, they all go their separate ways. It's also revealed in this moment that a separate group of ninja from a currently unknown village was watching all of this transpire from a nearby tree. Lord Third holds a meeting with all of the ninja trainers and has the trainers training rookies recommend who they think should be allowed to be examined. The three trainers who step forward are Kakashi, Kurenai, and Asuma, and they all recommend their entire teams. Kakashi's Team 7 consists of Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. Kurenai's Team 8 consists of Hinata, Kiba, and Shino. And Asuma's Team 10 consists of Shikamaru, Ino, and Choji. Iruka protests this, but Kakashi holds firm. And in light of this, Lord Third decides to hold a preliminary test. Kakashi delivers the Chunin exam applications to Team 7, and more people pour into the village. The next day, Naruto runs into the Konohamaru ninja team and agrees to play ninja, when suddenly Moegi's kidnapped by a ninja from the unknown village who turns out to be Iruka administering the preliminary test that Lord Third agreed to. Naruto gives chase and ultimately corners the ninja who captured and then tied up Moegi, who then reveals that his motive is to get his hands on the first Hokage's Scroll of Sealing, which is the scroll where Naruto learned how to do the Shadow Clone Jutsu, and basically this is a callback to literally Season 1, Episode 1. Naruto then gets Moegi out of there with some sleight of hand, some substitution jutsu, and some shadow clone jutsu. Naruto then casts a net over the bad guy and jumps him with shadow clones, but it's revealed that the enemy also used the substitution jutsu, and Naruto really captured and beat up a rock, although he did manage to free Moegi. Meanwhile, Sasuke invites Sakura out on a walk, and they get ambushed by some ninja from the same place that kidnapped Moegi. Now, obviously, this Sasuke and this ninja at this point are both an illusion that are being spun by Iruka for the sake of testing Sakura. But the illusion version of Sasuke gets got by a clever attack by Iruka, basically, right? Iruka gets Iruka with a good attack to scare Sakura. Sakura then lays over and cries for Sasuke when Iruka walks up and tells her to stay away from the Chunin exams because she'll wind up like Sasuke there. Sakura laughs and calls out the genjutsu for what it is, knowing that Sasuke would never be so nice to her and that Sasuke would never fall for such a simple move. Sakura calls out the attacker as an illusion entirely, and the bad guy then goes to attack her, but she doesn't flinch because she knows it's an illusion. Once the illusion caster realizes that he's been entirely found out, he disappears but warns against participation in the Chunin exams yet again on his way out. Now, while all this is transpiring, the real Sasuke is attacked by Iruka, and Sasuke basically is roundhouse kicks him to the face, sends him packing, tells him to stay out of the village. Sasuke just ain't one to be fucked with. Iruka learns that lesson quickly. At this point, it ultimately reveals that the attacker was Iruka testing them per the Hokage's orders, and he deems all 9 of the rookies prepared for the exams. We then get introduced to Team Guy minus their sensei. You've got Rock Lee, the guy with the soup bowl haircut, the bushy eyebrows, and the green jumper. Tintin is the brown-haired chick with the pink vest. And Neji Hyuga is the dude with the light color eyes and the long hair. He's ultimately the cousin of Hinata Hyuga of Team 8. The squadlings then link up at the classroom, but there are two dudes who turn out to be the Jonin who are administering part of the test, aren't letting anyone in, and they knock Rock Lee down on his ass. Sasuke calls on Sakura to call out the genjutsu, which she does by pointing out that they're on the second floor, but the classroom indicates that they're on the third. One of the testers breaks the genjutsu, but the other attacks Sasuke. Sasuke goes to counterattack, but Rock Lee bolts in with the quickness and blocks both of their attacks simultaneously, shocking everyone and catching the particular attention of Sasuke. There's a brief, unpleasant exchange between Neji and Sasuke, and at that point, Sasuke turns his back on Neji and them, and Sakura leads Sasuke and Naruto ahead to the correct classroom, and the episode ends. Right, and so this episode begins with, it takes us back to the interaction between Sasuke and Neji that we just went over, where Neji attempts to get Sasuke's attention by calling out to him, "Hey, you over there, what's your name?" And Sasuke informs Neji he's not obliged to answer, and that it's customary to give your name first before asking someone else's. Tintin thinks that Sasuke is cute, and Neji, kind of shocked by this, asks, "What's that?" Sasuke simply turns around without responding, legitimately doesn't have time for whatever's going on here. This visibly frustrates Neji. At this point, the two undercover test administrators remark among themselves, "So that's a bunch of misfits that Kakashi and Guy have been going on about. I guess they passed their first test, getting their applications through." They then transform into their normal older selves, and one of them remarks, "It looks like the exams are going to be fun this year." And the other responds, "Yeah, maybe for us, but not for them." Sakura then leads Naruto and Sasuke away holding both of their hands. Sasuke demands, "Don't pull me so hard, Sakura," as she drags them away from the scene. Team Guy is just left standing watching them leave. When Neji notices the Uchiha crest on the back of Sasuke's vest, and he thinks, "Sasuke of the Uchiha clan." So at this point, it's clear that Neji already knows who Sasuke is. He's just trying to figure out a way to engage with him. Tintin turns and says, "He's pretty bold. You gonna challenge him?" And Neji simply chuckles and walks forward, where Tintin follows suit, but Rock Lee doesn't move. Tintin then turns and asks, "Lee, what are you waiting for? We're supposed to check in." Lee responds, "I will catch up with you in a minute. You do not need to wait for me. I just want to check something." Tintin then turns back to Neji and asks, "What's that about?" To which Neji responds, "I have no idea," as he nonchalantly walks away. The scene migrates to Team 7, walking towards the correct classroom, when suddenly you can hear Rock Lee call out from behind them, "Hey, you with the attitude, hold on." All three of the squadlings turn at once and are all surprised to see Rock Lee standing on a ledge behind them. Naruto and Sasuke are both surprised by Rock Lee's presence, and Sasuke questions, "What do you want?" Lee responds, "I want to fight, right here and right now." The beat drops and the title slide comes in, and Naruto reads aloud, "Chunin challenge, Rock Lee versus Sasuke." Sasuke's gaze narrows and he questions, "You want to fight me here and now, huh?" Lee responds simply, "Yes," and leaps down from the ledge. He introduces himself to the squadlings, saying, "My name is Rock Lee. You said it was common courtesy for a challenger to give his own name first, right, Sasuke Uchiha?" This catches Sasuke's attention, and he responds, "So you know me." Rock Lee then strikes a pose and declares, "I challenge you. Everyone is always talking about the Uchiha clan and how great they are. I want to see if it's true. I figure you will be a good test for me. And at this point he looks over at Sakura and he blushes, and Sakura clearly is like not receptive to this still and is just clearly creeped out by him even looking at her. Rock Lee blushes even harder and then says, "Oh, Sakura, I love you." Right, so Sakura's got all kinds of people fawning over her right now. She's got at least Naruto and Rock Lee, who are like definitely about that Sakura life. Sakura isn't having any of it though, and she like screams in disgust and yells, "Those eyebrows can't be real, no." And like the first good eyebrow joke. The Rock Lee eyebrow jokes are like in the same category as Sakura forehead jokes. She then has to like hold on to herself to keep herself from shaking, and she continues, "Your hairstyle is horrible and those eyebrows are so bushy. You're such a weirdo." And damn, Sakura, I know you're only a young teenager, but geez Lou, she out here slamming our man's bushy brow. Rock Lee responds to this slanderous tirade with, "You're an angel sent from heaven." And damn, he took all that on the chin and definitely like responded with kindness. He then blows her a kiss, and as the kiss approaches her, she just loses it completely and avoids it at the last second. The kiss continues past her, and it winds up like sticking to a column that's behind her. Rock Lee commends her, saying, "That was a good move, but let's see you dodge this." And he sends her about a dozen blown kisses. Sakura somehow manages to avoid them all, screaming and crying the entire time. She winds up leaning backwards like the Matrix and bonking her head to avoid the last one, which leaves like a huge bump on top of her head. She thinks to herself as she stands up, "That was too close." She then raises her fist in anger towards Rock Lee and demands, "Keep your creepy little valentines to yourself. I was dodging for my life there." This visibly crushes Lee, who responds, "You do not have to be so negative, Sakura." Which, I agree. She's always being mean. But either way, she has a right not to want that affection still. But either way. Naruto raises his fist in frustration and thinks to himself, he wants to fight Sasuke? It's always about Sasuke. And again, it's funny because Naruto, his whole shtick is like wanting the respect, right? But Sasuke, for some reason, is always the one who gets it. And it isn't for some reason, right? He's the top of the class. He's, this is a talented group of Genin, and he's the top of the heap, right? So he's going to get that clout. And Naruto just needs to go in and earn his. Sasuke questions Lee, "You've heard of the Uchiha clan, yet you're challenging me? You must be even more psycho than you look, if that's possible. Do you know more about my clan? Then I'll teach you the hard way." And Rock Lee invitingly raises his hand and responds, "Bring it on." Everything goes black around Lee as he thinks to himself, "Excellent. A matchup against the #1 rookie. I will draw him out and get him to reveal his technique, and I will prove myself to you, Guy Sensei." In this moment, Naruto abruptly interrupts with, "Hold on." The beat drops and Naruto announces, "I want him first. This weirdo is mine." Which Sasuke responds, "Go for it." Sakura questions Naruto in doing this, but Naruto is adamant, demanding, "What? It'll take me 2 minutes and I'll have this guy begging for mercy." Rock Lee chimes in, "No thank you. Right now, the only one I want to fight is Uchiha." Naruto sharply responds back, "Yeah? Well, I've got news for you. Sasuke can't compare to me, believe it." He then suddenly charges toward Lee, and Lee doesn't even so much as flinch or move a muscle. Naruto leaps in to land a huge right hand when Lee simply pushes Naruto's wrist after he slightly dodges the punch and sends Naruto flying to the floor. Naruto catches himself by throwing his hands on the ground and throws like an upward cartwheel kick. And Lee then yells, "Leaf Whirlwind," and he sweeps Naruto's hands out from underneath him. This sends him spinning to the ground and off into the distant wall, effectively knocking him out. Sakura thinks, "Whoa, he's better than he looks." Lee then stands back at attention and declares, "Just admit it. You have no chance against me. Your skills are inferior. You see, Sasuke, out of all the top Leaf Genin, I am the best. Fight me and I'll prove it to you." Sasuke's gaze narrows and he thinks back on when Lee blocked him and the test administer's attack simultaneously. During the flashback, Sasuke thinks, "He blocked my kick. That's some chakra he's got in his arm." It then flashes back to the current moment where Sasuke smirks and says, "This'll be fun. Let's do it." Sakura then looks up at the clock, which reads 2:34, and gasps. She then says, "There's no time, Sasuke. We've got to register by 3 o'clock. That's less than half an hour." Sasuke lowers his head, closes his eyes, and says, "Relax, this'll be over." And then he opens his eyes and continues sharply, "In 5 seconds." And he rushes Lee. And as Sasuke is rushing, Lee thinks to himself, "Here he comes. Forgive me, Guy Sensei. I know it is forbidden, but I may have to break the rules and use that jutsu." And so at this point, it's clear that Lee has some special jutsu that his sensei doesn't want him using, and he's considering using it on Sasuke. Just in this moment, Sasuke throws a punch and Lee disappears. Sasuke is clearly shocked by this, and suddenly Lee comes flying in with a spinning kick, yelling, "Leaf Hurricane." Sasuke dodges and Lee just rolls with that momentum into another spinning kick. And Sasuke sees the second kick coming. He thinks to himself, "I'm not fast enough. I've got to block it." When suddenly Lee casts a hand sign and his kick quickly slips through Sasuke's guard, catching him in the face and sending him flying. Sasuke lands on the ground and begins to quiver and says, "What's going on?" Sakura, also not quite fully understanding what she just saw, thinks to herself, "He had his guard up and Lee went right through it." Sasuke then stands up while thinking, "He's using some technique to get to me, but what is it? A ninjutsu or a genjutsu?" Lee sees Sasuke standing up and thinks, as expected, he's coming back for more. Sasuke squares up and thinks, "Okay, this is good. Got him right where I want him. Now is my chance." And even smiles and says aloud, "I've been waiting to try this out." Sakura gasps and thinks, "Could it be? Is it the Sharingan?" And in this moment, Sasuke reveals his Sharingan eyes. Sakura is starstruck and looks on and thinks to herself, "When did he learn to his eyes? It's in both of them." And I guess they never talked about how he awakened his Sharingan during the Land of Waves mission, because this shouldn't be news to his teammate. Yet it appears to be. I don't quite understand that. Even upon second watch through, it doesn't quite make sense that Sakura wouldn't be fully aware of Sasuke's awakened Sharingan, considering that they're teammates. But hey, it is what it is. It's just an observation. I'm not going to let it take away from my ability to enjoy the show at all. Lee sees this and thinks to himself, so that's the Sharingan. But he doesn't flinch, right? Ice blood in his veins. And this is so exciting, right? We get to see Sasuke's Sharingan against an opponent that doesn't bat an eyelash at it. Which, granted, this is like a friendly match between Leaf Ninjas, so it's easy to be unfazed when he isn't finna kill you, because it's like an exhibition, right? But still, looking like it's finna be a real fun fight. Sakura blushes and thinks to herself, you never know what Sasuke will do next. He's amazing. If it's anything like Kakashi Sensei's Sharingan, he'll be able to read this guy's jutsu and nail him. Sasuke then confidently thinks, Genjutsu or Ninjutsu, whatever magic he's using, I'll see it now. He then locks his Sharingan eye on Lee and leaps into action. Sakura, seeing all of this, thinks Sasuke is getting stronger every day. Just what you'd expect from an Uchiha. Sasuke could never lose to a guy like this. No way. Suddenly, Sasuke gets uppercut kicked to the chin and sent flying through the air yet again. And Sakura, just literally cannot believe it and thinks, what? Like she was literally right before he got Sweet Chin musicked, was thinking there's no way that Sasuke could lose to a guy like this. And yet here he is, getting kicked into the air for a second straight time. As Sasuke is flying through the air, he thinks, he got around my guard, but how? What kind of jutsu is that? Lee then announces, you see, my jutsu is neither ninjutsu or genjutsu. As Sasuke lands, Lee sprints towards him, and in this moment, Naruto also starts coming to. The first thing that Naruto sees as he comes to is Sasuke on the back foot doing whatever he can to avoid Lee's attacks, but Lee ultimately lands a kick to the chest. Naruto gasps and yells out for Sasuke, where Sasuke then tries to attack Lee, but Lee blocks the incoming attack and counters with an elbow to the chest, which sends Sasuke backwards, gasping for breath. Rock Lee then asks, you get it now? I'm using taijutsu. That means no tricks, Sasuke. Who then suddenly disappears and reappears behind Sasuke and says, it's just straight martial arts, nothing more. Sasuke angrily yells, why you? And takes a big swing at Rock Lee, which is easily avoided. Lee lands some distance away and stands invitingly, proclaiming, I know your technique, forget it. It will not work, not on me. I know you can see through your opponent's jutsu. That Sharingan gives you the ability to read his chakra and decipher his hand signs and movements. And this obviously shocks Sasuke, having someone understand his Sharingan so well, and it literally makes him start sweating bullets. Lee continues, you can guess what he's going to do almost before he knows himself. The problem is taijutsu is a little bit different. Sasuke chimes in, right, so what's your point? And Lee responds, I do not try to hide or disguise my moves. I do not have to. Even if you can read them, you still cannot stop them. You are too slow. Your eyes may be quick enough to stay one step ahead of me, but if your body cannot keep up, what good does it do you? You know what? Here's what I believe. There are two different kinds of ninja. Those like you who are born with talent and do not have to work at it. And this just immediately pisses Sasuke off, and he comes rushing at Rock Lee. But Lee doesn't flinch at all and continues, and those like me, the ones who have to train every day of our lives. In this moment, Sasuke throws several strikes at Rock Lee, which he easily avoids. Lee continues to lecture as he's dodging Sasuke's attacks. Fact is, your Sharingan is the worst match for my extreme taijutsu. Here's what I mean. and he lunges to attack. Sasuke thinks, I've got to stop him, but he's unsuccessful at stopping him, and Lee sweet chin musics him into the air yet again. While Sasuke is flying, Lee kneels down, builds up some chakra, and leaps into the air, where he suddenly appears behind Sasuke midair. Sasuke recognizes this technique and calls it out as the dancing leaf shadow. Lee compliments Sasuke's astuteness by saying, good eye, but then continues, now I will prove my point. At this point, the wraps around his hands begin to unfurl. He then continues, that hard work beats out natural talent. And this is great, right? This is like Rock Lee's whole thing, right? It's that he is going to outwork everybody. And he's that grindstone guy. I mean, literally the first big interaction we have with him, the point that he's on a mission to prove is that hard work is a more powerful force than natural talent. At this point, Sasuke's eyes widen and he questions internally, what's his next move? Rock Lee then declares, you're finished, when suddenly a toy pinwheel comes flying in from out of nowhere, and it sticks Rock Lee's hand wrappings to the wall. Everyone gasps, and Rock Lee says out loud, this is bad. In this moment, a big red talking ninja tortoise breaks things up, saying, all right, that's enough, Lee. And it's really a big red ninja tortoise that talks, who came in and broke this up. So that's that. That was a little much the first time I saw it. This was literally my first anime I ever really watched, and was a little off-putting. Like this is definitely a step up from the dogs, right? But either way, at this point, Lee abandons his attack and leaps down in front of the tortoise. Sakura runs and catches Sasuke before he slams on the ground. Lee kneels and bows his head at the tortoise. Naruto, having watched all of this transpired, is pretty shocked, and he thinks to himself, he totally beat Sasuke. Something happened while I was knocked out. What did he do? Sakura is helping Sasuke up, who is groaning in pain. She asks Sasuke, are you okay? But he doesn't respond. She then yells out, Sasuke, and he still doesn't respond. Sakura thinks at this point, he's really shaken up. He didn't even take the fall right. It then takes us over to Lee and the tortoise, where Lee questions, were you watching the whole time? The tortoise responds, of course, that last technique is forbidden, you know that. Naruto, seeing all of this transpire, confusedly remarks to himself, he's talking to a turtle, and it's talking back. Obviously, he's as confused as we are, or at least as confused as I was the first time I saw all this. It's also a tortoise, not just a turtle, right? Like, I know that all tortoises are turtles, but like a tortoise is a more accurate term here, but I'm not gonna bag on Naruto, right? He's the main character, so what he says is kind of the precedent, right? I'm just kind of reporting on the matter. Lee vehemently apologizes to the tortoise, and Naruto again just can't wrap his head around this and remarks to himself internally, now he's apologizing to a turtle. Wait a minute. Could that be his sensei? And he kind of like pieces it together, right? He's thinking that this tortoise is Lee's sensei. Lee finally works up the courage to look up at the tortoise, who just glares at him menacingly. Lee panics and frantically pleads, I was not planning to use a forbidden jutsu. I was in the middle of the fight, and you understand. Naruto stands up and remarks, "I'm right, it really is his sensei." He then runs up to Sakura and Sasuke and yells, "Hey, you guys." Sakura asks, "What, Naruto?" He then points to the tortoise and says, "That weird thing he's talking to is a turtle, right?" Sakura impatiently responds, "Obviously. What did you think it is?" Naruto's, "Okay then, so maybe it means turtles can be sensei too." Sakura questions, "How would I know if they could be sensei too?" The tortoise suddenly yells at Rock Lee, "You're a disgrace. You think you'll get away with a bunch of lame excuses like that? A shinobi never reveals his techniques unless it's absolutely necessary. It's such a basic rule, you should know it by now." Lee pleads, "Forgive me, sir." In this moment, Sasuke starts licking his wounds and thinks, "How could I lose to that freak?" And he then groans in visible frustration. The turtle then continues, "Are you prepared to take punishment for your actions?" Lee disappointedly confirms that he is. At that point, the turtle then continues, "All right then, please come out, Guy Sensei." And in a plume of smoke, the legendary Guy Sensei appears on top of his tortoise. And, the legendary Guy Sensei, man, he's in a green jumpsuit just like Lee, but he has a vest on as well, like Kakashi. He's got the same haircut as Lee. He's got big bushy eyebrows like Lee. And he's got a big booming voice that exudes confidence and enthusiasm. But at this point, I do want to point out that he is not Lee's dad. Surprisingly enough, he's just Sensei. And with that big, enthusiastic, confident voice, Guy Sensei yells, "Hey, what's shaking? What are you doing, everybody? Life treating you good?" The squadlings are all floored by the presence of this man. Naruto even exclaims, "He's got the biggest eyebrows I've ever seen. They're practically alive." And Guy Sensei says, "Hi, lady," and winks and smiles, and his teeth gleam like Lee's did. Sakura just responds, "Oh, so weird, too weird." Naruto chimes in, "So that's where Lee gets it from. Same soup bowl haircut and even bushier eyebrows." Lee hears this and immediately turns around and demands, "You do not insult Guy Sensei. He is one of the greatest men in the ninja world, and you ain't gonna catch no arguments from me there, Rock Lee." Naruto claps back with the same energy. "Well, excuse me for not noticing his greatness. I was too busy watching him crawl out from underneath a turtle." Lee yells back, "He did not crawl out." Guy Sensei, with a flick of the wrist, says, "Give it a rest, Lee." And Lee confirms this with a simple "Yes, sir." Guy then says, "Now for your punishment." And he punches Lee right in the face, sending him flying, right? And as he punches him, he yells, "You little fool." And this treatment even shocks the squadlings. Lee lands on the ground, and Guy walks up to him, kneels down, and says, "I'm sorry, Lee, but it's for your own good." And you can hear Guy's voice starting to crack towards the end of this statement, like he's about to cry. Lee looks up and says, "Sensei, I'm so sorry." They've then got waves and a sunset going on in the background. It's so silly, right? These guys are having this moment. It's lit by the setting sun, but they're just in a building, right? It then shows that Guy is in fact crying as well. And Guy says, "All right, it's over. You don't need to say any more." Lee leaps and gives Guy a big hug, and they both cry like babies. The squadlings of Squad 7 are all mystified by this. Sasuke thinks again, "How could I lose to someone that lame?" It then shows Guy and Lee hugging it out, both still crying, and the tortoise is even crying. Which, real quick, the tortoise is Guy's personal summoning creature. His name is Ningame. Guy tells Lee it's okay, it's only a phase. Lee apologizes again, saying, I'm so sorry, Sensei. Naruto points out to Sakura and Sasuke, actually it's kind of sweet, the way they're all huggy and stuff. Sakura, shocked by this, responds, huh? You've got to be kidding me. They're both totally crazy. Guy Sensei at this point stands up and puts his hand on Lee's shoulder and continues, you're just caught between. You're too old to be called a boy and yet not quite a man. Lee, tears rolling down his face, says, you're too good to me, Guy Sensei. Guy then points to the distance and says, now take off. I want you to give me 100 laps around the practice field. Show me what you've got. Show me what you got. Lee responds, yes, sir, no problem. Guy then says, run into the setting sun. Run and suffer, but don't mess up your hair. He then turns and flashes a smile with us, with his teeth just gleaming. Lee wipes the tears from his face and smiles up at Guy Sensei, and his teeth gleam as well. Guy declares, let us go, and Lee confirms this, and they begin to walk off. And the squadlings are all yet again just left completely shocked. But Naruto stops them by yelling, hey, wait a minute, we're not finished here. You guys can't just take off like that. Sakura chimes in, and what about the Chunin exams? There's no time for fooling around. Guy stops and groans and admits, oh right, I forgot about that. He then loudly clears his throat and says, Lee, you not only disobeyed the rule against fighting, but you disrupted the Chunin exams. I think that warrants a slightly more severe punishment, don't you? Lee confirms with a yes, sir. Guy strikes a pose and says, let's say 500 laps, Sen. How does that sound? Lee responds, outstanding, sir. And the squadlings are yet again just dumbfounded by these two's antics. Sakura even remarks, they're insane. Naruto responds, probably, but never mind them. What's the deal with the turtle, anyway? Guy directs his attention towards the squadling and thinks, this must be Kakashi's squad. I'll check them out. Sakura sees him looking at them, and she remarks, ugh, he's looking at us, no. Guy then asks, tell me, how is Kakashi-sensei? Sasuke asks, do you know him? This dumbass, asking if Guy Sensei knows Kakashi. Guy responds, do I know Kakashi? Well, people say he and I are arch rivals for all eternity. Sakura and Naruto both scream in disbelief at this at the same time and scream, there's just no way. Lee immediately comes to his sensei's defense yet again, demanding, how dare you? If Guy says it's true, then and suddenly Guy interrupts him by saying, let it slide, Lee. A ninja's actions always speak louder than words. Sasuke takes a hard look at Guy Sensei when suddenly Guy disappears and reappears behind him. He then announces, my record is 50 wins and 49 losses, which is one better than his, by the way. This shocks the squadlings, and Naruto asks, you're kidding. How did you beat Kakashi? Guy smiles, winks, and points to himself with his thumb and declares, the fact is, I'm stronger than Kakashi, and faster, and his teeth gleam. Sasuke thinks, his speed is incredible. He's definitely faster than Kakashi. Is he even human? I love that Sasuke is so blown away by the physical prowess of Guy that he's like questioning if he's even human. Lee leaps in this moment and says, you see, Guy Sensei is the best there is. Guy then offers, I'm sorry for the trouble Lee caused you. Look into my eyes and accept my sincere apology. Also, notice my handsome manly features. Sasuke thinks to himself, he claims to be better than Kakashi. Could that be true? I don't think he's making this up. He then clenches his fists in frustration. Guy suggests, Lee, you should accompany these fine young ninja to the classroom right now. He then, without even looking, throws a kunai and knocks the pinwheel out of the wall, releasing Lee's arm wraps. As Lee wraps his hands back up, Naruto notices his knuckles are all scraped up. Guy then announces to the room, "Remember to give it your best. Lee, farewell," and disappears along with his tortoise in a plume of smoke as Lee responds with another simple "yes, sir." Lee then turns and says, "Hey, Sasuke, actually, I've not been totally honest with you. I said I wanted to test my skills, and that is true enough, but you are not really the one I wanted to test them against. When I agreed to fight you before, I told you I was the best Genin here, but there is another top ninja, someone on my own team." And it then flashes an image of Neji real quick, and Sasuke's gaze narrows. And so at this point, Neji's actually been established as the top dog of all the Genin getting tested according to Lee, who is beating Sasuke's ass. So I think you need to take his opinion serious. Lee continues, "I came here to defeat him. You were just practice. Now you're a target. I will crush you. There you have it. Consider yourself warned." He then leaps out of there without giving anyone a chance to respond. Sasuke is visibly frustrated by all this. Sakura tries to console him by saying, "Oh, Sasuke," but Naruto chimes in, "Yeah, looks like the Uchihas aren't as great as everybody thinks they are." Sakura, always trying to defend Sasuke, begins to scold him, but Sasuke demands, "Just shut up. Next time I'll drive him to his knees." Naruto pokes at him, "Yeah, right. Who just got this butt kicked?" Sakura demands, "Stop it. What are you saying? Just cut it out, Naruto." Naruto then remarks, "You saw his hands, didn't you? When he took the tape off? I bet all Bushy Brow's been training till he drops day in and day out. He trains harder than you." That's all I'm saying. And the beat builds and Sasuke turns his back to the team. Sasuke then says, "Fine. Things are starting to get interesting. The Chunin exams. I can't wait to see what's next." The beat drops and the other squadlings smile on Sasuke. Naruto chimes in, "Right." Sasuke steps forward and declares, "Let's get started. Sakura, Naruto." And Naruto yells, "Yeah!" And all three of them walk forward to the correct classroom, and the episode ends, right? And we're another episode down. This was a really fun episode. I liked it a lot, right? I'm a big Rock Lee fan. Sasuke said it best there at the end, the Chunin exams. I can't wait to see what's next. Lee's a total badass, right? I mean, like I said at the review last time, if you didn't realize that Lee was a badass whenever he simultaneously blocked Sasuke and the Jonin test administrators' kicks simultaneously, then you were fooling, right? Lee's a badass. Lee just made Sasuke look super foolish, and Sasuke was able to keep up with Haku's speed before Haku got into the Crystal Ice Dome mirror jutsu. And Haku's whole thing was being way too fast. Like, remember Haku moved around and disarmed Gato's thugs in the blink of an eye, and they were all shocked by it, right? And Sasuke is faster than that, and Lee is faster than Sasuke. We got to meet Guy Sensei. What a legend. What a beast. I mean, he's a beast. He's got that Rock Lee energy, but he's like the grown-up version of it, right? Like grown-up Rock Lee. Like, imagine, we see how badass Rock Lee is as like a teenager. It's like, imagine like a grown in his prime Rock Lee, and like that's what you got in Guy Sensei. And he's obviously like an eccentric, fun character. He's always bringing in a real neat energy and makes it a lot of fun. It's the bottom line. He made short work of Naruto, literally sent him flying and knocked him out, and pieced up Sasuke. I can't believe that Lee isn't Guy's son. I mean, literally, I've seen all of this, right? And like to this day, I still want Lee to be Rock Lee's, or I still want Rock Lee to be Guy Sensei's son, but it just is not the case, unfortunately. We got to meet Ningame, Guy's summoning tortoise. We'll see if we see much more of him or not. It's just a neat character, right? We got to see Sasuke get his ass kicked. That's always fun. Lee's a taijutsu specialist, right? So I wonder if we're going to come into any ninjutsu or genjutsu specialist guys who are like really, really particularly specialized, right? Like Lee, just in opposite directions. It'll be interesting to see. Now it's like really, we're getting like a diverse skill set amongst the ninjas, right? Like everybody kind of specializes in their own thing. At least it seems that way to this point, right? And like Lee's big thing is taijutsu, the actual hand-to-hand combat. Homie ain't hiding shit. He's just going to hit you faster than you can do anything about. I can't believe how fast he is. I wonder what his forbidden technique is, right? I mean, he's already whooping ass. And I can't wait to find out what that hidden jutsu is, and I can't wait to see it, right? Hopefully he actually gets to bust it out at some point. We thought Lee was actually concerned with us and Sasuke, but nah, he's just looking for a warm-up for his actual challenge, which is Neji, who's been identified as the top dog of the entire group of Genin who are being tested amongst the Chunin examinations. And, with that, I feel like I can put a bow in this episode. There was a lot that happened. We really got to see some cool fighting. We got we got to be introduced to Ningame and Guy Sensei. We got to understand a little bit more about Rock Lee being a taijutsu specialist. We got to see Sasuke get humbled. We got to see Naruto get humbled. We got to see that Sakura now has a second person who treats her as their love interest out there. So a lot happened, man. It was a real fun episode. I really liked it a lot. This whole arc is a lot of fun. Getting introduced to some of the new characters. So with that, guys, I really appreciate everybody for listening. Again, this is Joshua. I'm your Konoha companion. Please consider liking and sharing and subscribing and whatever, right? Find a way to support. I'm gonna appreciate it, right? Every like is dopamine for me. Just be sure to be polite, be friendly, right? The whole point of this is to be friendly and to build a community, and so let's participate and make that happen. And with that, thank you all so much again for tuning in, and I'm looking forward to covering the next episode with you. Peace.